Yeah, and in the stack of things that are totally made up and cannot possibly be true today, there's a Washington Post poll. And you know what it says? The vast majority of you support Obama's nuke deal with Iran. It's what it says. The vast majority of American people are ready to go, ready to help Obama get the nuke deal done with Iran, except they're not told the truth about what the deal is. Primary question in the poll is, would you support an Iranian nuke deal which lifted sanctions on Iran for a pledge from Iran not to develop a nuclear weapon? Well, of course. Reasonable people say, yep, that's good with me. But that's not what the Iranian nuke deal is. They do a poll on an imaginary nuke deal. But that question has no relationship to what the deal currently being discussed is. And, of course, the deal has fallen apart. So many misconceptions about this. Everybody thought that the deadline was today. And no, this was just phase one. This was some preliminary thing. This is the framework of a deal. This is not the deal. And the drive-bys were hyping this date today as it had to get done or else. It was going to blow up and nothing was ever going to happen. And that simply was never the case. The original drop-dead date for this is sometime in June or July. And what happened here, exactly what the Iranians always do. At the last minute, they made a total change to something they had previously committed to. In this case, they said, you know what? We're not going to surrender the enriched uranium that we produced. And John Kerry said, but wait, you said you were. And the Iranians said, well, we changed our mind. I talked to Ali Khamenei, and he said, we changed our mind, we're not going to do that. So we called the Russians. Hey, can you guys help? Because you essentially sold them the stuff to help make it. And Putin said, yeah, we'll take the uranium off their hands. And the Iranians said, no, we're not going to give up our uranium. And the Russians said, we'd be happy to take it and hold it in escrow. So then, as I say, the Ayatollah Khamenei came in and said, screw all this. And so the deadline today is going to come and go. Whether it's met or not is irrelevant because the Ayatollah Khamenei has said, you know what, this two-phase thing is a bunch of garbage anyway. Screw this framework stuff. The real drop-dead date's July, and that's what's now operative. And, of course, this is also part and parcel of the way Iran does things. They get very, very, very close to it. Everybody thinks it's a deal, and they walk away. And now they've got, let's see, this is March, April, May, June. They get 3 or 4 more months here to keep developing uranium, keep running their centrifuges, keep working toward the creation of a nuclear weapon while the talks stall and then resume and then stall and everybody focused on a new date this summer. It's exactly what Iran does. And here, grab soundbite number 1 and 2. John Bolton, before we get back to Indiana and Mike Pence, let me get this out of the way because this is really not going to take much. On American Newsroom today, Bill Hemmer speaking with Bolton about all of this going on in Iran. And he said, now, critics say that the president's already given away too much. Today's the day, right? John Kerry said last night, everybody knows the meaning of tomorrow, and tomorrow is today. So what does it all mean, Mr. Bolton?
If they don't announce it today, they'll have to announce it on April Fool's Day. They will declare success because in negotiation you never fail. But if anybody thinks that Iran has really made any substantial concession here, they're not listening careful enough. And the Iranians really are never going to make substantial concessions because they're determined to get nuclear weapons.
Right. And we're not telling them that the only way that, well, here, he addresses it. Bolton, the only way we're going to stop this is to bomb them. And we're not going to do that, so they're going to get the weapon. Hemmer said, well, you're taking a lot of heat, Mr. Bolton, for a peace. that you put out last week. You said to stop Iran's bomb, you got to bomb Iran. You think that's the only way out here?
There are only two outcomes here. One is the most likely outcome: Iran gets nuclear weapons, whether they sign this deal or not. I think there's a lot of common sense understanding that they are stringing us along. Look at the prior examples where the Israelis bombed a nuclear reactor in Syria being constructed by North Korea in September of 2007. They set Saddam Hussein's nuclear weapons program back for a decade by bombing the Osirak reactor in 1981.
So his point is that's about the only leverage we have now is to bomb their facilities. Problem is many of their facilities are way down there. Way down underground. Be tough. You'd need one of those bunker-busting bombs. I don't know if we still have them. Or if the Democrats outlawed them. It's being too dangerous. But that's what it would take. So Bolton has become sort of a fait accompliste on this. They're going to get it. Negotiations never fail. No matter what happens, you declare victory. That's called statesmanship, by the way. He's not accusing Obama. That's just what everybody does. At the end of every negotiation, everybody claims victory, whether there is one or not. Now, Bill Richardson, we've featured his sound bites on this subject the past couple of weeks. And he was back on CNN today with Chris Cuomo, and he just cannot believe what he's seeing here. Cuomo said, I know it's just optics, and I know it's oversimplification, but it does look like Iran's getting everything it wants. Looks like they're running the table here, doesn't it?
They're running rampant. They're moving ahead in Iraq. They're moving in Syria. With ISIS, they are on our side, but they're causing a lot of problems in the region. You can't trust them. Lastly, Saudi Arabia and Israel. They're our friends. They're not happy about this. We got to find a way in this interim period to get closer to the Saudis, to see if we can breach this relationship, make it better with Israel, because there's just too much turmoil in the region, and we can't let Iran get away with everything it's doing in the region. They are running rampant.
We are not stopping them. We do not have an administration which wants to stop them. That's what everybody seems to have trouble realizing or admitting here. We do not have an administration that wants to stop Iran. It's just the opposite, in fact. There's a reason that Iran's running rampant. It is that nobody's stopping them. Why take that back? The French are trying to. Imagine that. The French are bigger hawks than we are. And, of course, the Israelis are trying to stop it. And even some of the other European nations in the P5+1 group. But they can't do it. They can't do it without us. And we're not on the same page with them. This administration does not want to stop Iran from its ultimate aim, getting nuclear weapons. Now, they're not trying to facilitate this happening tomorrow, but they don't want to stop it. The current deal permits Iran in 10 years to have nuclear weapons, and it's going to rely on the power of Obama's charisma and his speeches to persuade Iran not to use the nuclear weapons that they are going to eventually either obtain or produce.